Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Hope you are having better understanding of the course related to magnetism. We have started states of matter based upon their magnetic interactions, and from our previous lectures, we have a better understanding about magnetization. And I told you that magnetization is measured in two units. The direct unit is magnetic susceptibility. Usually it's magnetic susceptibility in the form of volume or gram, and then it is converted into magnetic moment, and this is the parameter to determine the state of a material, whether it is a paramagnet, whether it is a diamagnet or ferromagnet or ferrimagnet. So these are the states of matter. This is lecture number 7, and we shall continue the states of matter. So in this lecture, here are our key points that we are going to discuss. First one is ferrimagnetism, and second is structure of magnetite, that is a very famous and well-known ferromagnetic material, and the last one is anti-ferromagnetism, that is most common. Uh, these three types, ferro, and anti-ferro. These are three rare forms or rare states of materials, and paramagnetic and diamagnetic. These are two common states of materials. And while discussing antiferromagnetic materials, we shall discuss structure of hematite. This is a well-known antiferromagnetic material. And at the last, I have 2 or 3 questions for you from this lecture. So, ferrimagnetism. A ferrimagnetic substance that in which number of magnetic moment vectors aligned in parallel and anti-parallel is unequal. Has some value of net magnetic moment even in the absence of applied magnetic field, and they are known as magnets. Some common or famous examples of ferromagnetic materials are magnetite, Fe3O4, and other ferrates having general formula of M plus 2 Fe3O4. M plus 2 stands for divalent metals. The most common divalent metals which are present in ferrates are magnesium plus 2, copper plus 2, and zinc plus 2. Or we can say the metals from periodic table having group second A and first B. Sorry, first second A. Magnesium belongs to second A, while copper belongs to first B, and zinc belongs to second B. So in this diagram, we can see that the directions of magnetic vector moments are in opposite direction and unequal. At the last of this picture, you can see 3 arrows. Two of them are directed towards upward direction, and one is directed downward. So these 3 arrows are actually showing that the number of magnetic moments are in opposite direction and are in unequal distribution. In ionic compounds such as oxides, More complex forms of magnetic ordering can occur as a result of crystal structure. One type of magnetic ordering is ferrimagnetism. A simple representation of magnetic spins in a ferrimagnetic oxide is shown on the next slide. The magnetic structure of such type of compounds is composed of two sublattices. One of them is marked as sublattice A, and the other one is marked as sublattice 2. And these two sublattices are separated by oxygen. The exchange interactions between these two sublattices is mediated by oxygen anions. These interactions between sublattices A and B are known as indirect or super exchange interactions. The strongest super exchange interactions result in an anti-parallel alignment of spins between A and B sublattice. The magnetic moment of the A and the B sublattices are not equal and result in a net magnetic moment similar to ferromagnetism. It, it exhibits all the hallmarks of ferromagnetic behaviors, that they have the property of spontaneous magnetization. These materials have a certain limit of Curie temperature. They also follices hysteresis do. They have the phenomena of resonance. However, ferro and ferrimagnetics have very different magnetic ordering. So, from this slide, we can extract the difference between ferromagnetic and ferrimagnetic. Ferro and ferri, both of these two materials are magnets even in the absence of applied magnetic field. Both of these two materials, when these are placed in an applied magnetic field, their magnetic ordering in the direction of applied magnetic field increases, and their magnetization or magnetic moment is increased. And after removing from the magnetic field, they have their remanence, means after removing from magnetic field, they will show an enhanced magnetic moment, and their magnetic magnetization can also be reversed by decreasing magnetic field, and they will also hysteresis loop, as we discussed in our previous lecture. But one of the major difference between ferro and ferrimagnets, that is the difference is in their magnetic ordering. We shall discuss how their magnetic ordering is different from each other. Magnetite is a well-known ferrimagnetic material. Indeed, magnetite was considered as a ferromagnet until Niels in 1940 provided the theoretical framework for the understanding of ferrimagnetism. In this diagram, you can see that there is a circle, that is blank circle, and its size is greater as compared to the black circle and the shaded circle. The black circle is representing oxygen, and the black, blank and black, these I am using two different words. One is blank. The black circle is representing oxygen, and black circle is representing tetrahedral iron A side, and shaded circle is representing octahedral B sublattice. So in this structure there are two sublattices. One of them is composed of tetrahedral iron uh, ions, and the other sublattice is composed of octahedral iron sublattices, and these two sublattices mediate their magnetic moment through anions. One thing you have to keep in mind, in this structure, oxygen is present in oxidation state -2, but their magnetic moment is not due to oxygen. Their magnetic moment is due to the exchange forces of cations of sublattice A and sublattice B. In my previous lecture, I presented a colored diagram to explain the structure of this molecule. You can also take guidance or understanding from the previous lecture, and I'm also going to presenting the same diagram in my next slide. So the color diagram will be helpful to understand the geometry or structure of this molecule. So before 1940, magnetite was also considered as a ferromagnetic material, but after the discovery of Niels, he proved that magnetite is something different molecule as compared to ferromagnetic molecules. Now we shall come to our next topic. The next topic is last state of material based upon their magnetic behavior, that is antiferromagnetism. Number of magnetic moment vectors aligned in one direction is equal to number of magnetic moments in opposite directions. As a result of equal number of distribution of magnetic moments in opposite directions, these types of materials have net magnetic moment equal to 0. Some of the famous examples of antiferromagnetic materials are vanadium oxide, chromium oxide, manganese oxide, iron oxide, and uh, cobalt oxide. Similarly, another combination of cobalt and oxygen, nickel oxide, cupric acetate, monohydrate. So in these examples, we can see most of the oxides are exhibiting the phenomena of antiferromagnetism. But we also see that one of transition metal compound is also exhibiting the phenomena of antiferromagnetism. So it means this phenomena is not limited to oxides. This phenomena is also exhibited by other transition metal complexes, but most commonly this phenomena is present in oxides. If the A and B sublattice moments are exactly equal but opposite, the net moment is zero. This type of magnetic ordering is called as antiferromagnetism. Here I shall give you a comparison of diamagnetic materials and antiferromagnetism. In diamagnetic materials, the discussion is limited to one atom. When the number of electrons present in an atom in atomic level are paired up in the orbital, then the material will exhibit the phenomena of diamagnetism. But here the case is different. Here the interaction are spread over the lattice of molecules. In diamagnetic molecules, there is no interaction of paired electrons of one atom to the neighboring atoms of same crystal lattice. But in antiferromagnetism, the magnetic forces of one atom or one lattices are balanced by magnetic moments of the other lattice or other molecule. So something is similar in both these two cases. For diamagnetic molecules, we can say the number of electrons in opposite directions are equal, and for antiferromagnetic moments, we can say the number of magnetic moments in opposite direction are equal. Diamagnetism is independent of temperature. but antiferromagnetism is dependent on temperature. And one more thing, diamagnetic materials are repelled by applied magnetic field, but antiferromagnetic materials are attracted towards applied magnetic field. Here is effect of temperature on magnetic susceptibility or magnetization or magnetic moment of mm, antiferromagnetic materials with temperature. So the clue to antiferromagnetism is the behavior of susceptibility above a critical Niels temperature. Above Niels temperature, susceptibility obeys the Curie-Weiss law for paramagnets, but with a negative intercept indicating negative exchange interactions. In this case, on x-axis we can see psi, that is magnetic susceptibility, and on x-axis Tn is Niels temperature, and the dotted line is showing the behavior of anti-ferromagnetic materials. We can see the graph is going beyond 0. So it means at 0 degree Celsius, the line of their magnetic susceptibility is not intercepting the 0. So it means at 0 degree Celsius, they have some value of magnetic moment. That's why this graph is not starting from 0. So when we increase temperature, initially magnetic susceptibility of anti-ferromagnetic material is going on increasing, and at one time it's going increasing. But after some time, their magnetic susceptibility will be, goes on decreasing with temperature. The temperature at which the antiferromagnetic materials uh, start showing their decrease in magnetic susceptibility, that temperature is known as Niels temperature, and we can also say that at Niels temperature, antiferromagnetic materials are converted into paramagnetic materials. Here is a structure of well-known uh, molecule, that is hematite. Hematite crystallizes in corundum structure with oxygen, ions in hexagonal close packed framework. The magnetic moments of ferric ions are ferromagnetically coupled with specific C planes but anti-ferromagnetically coupled between the planes. You can see the arrows in two different structures. In structure number 1, I'm labeling 1 the structure at left hand side, and when temperature is greater than minus 10 degrees Celsius, you can see the directions of magnetic movements are parallel to this hexagonal structure. But when temperature is less than minus 10 degrees Celsius, the lines are vertically oriented in this hexagonal framework. So we can see that above minus 10 degrees Celsius, the spin moments lie in the C plane but are slightly canted. This produces a weak spontaneous magnetization within the C plane with sigma is equal to 0.4 am square per kg. Below 10 degrees Celsius, the direction of anti-ferromagnetism changes and becomes parallel to the C-axis. There is no spin canting and hematite becomes a perfect anti-ferromagnet. So the discussion I described while you are watching this diagram is available on the next slide. So I'm also going to explain the same things on my next slide, and I also have a colored diagram for the better understanding of this model. So this is a hematite structure. In this, you can see there are two irons. Both of them are tetrahedrally oriented. The yellow colored oxygens are coming directly in the alignment as oxygen atoms, and the red color oxygens are uh, present at the rest of the sides of this molecule. So these A, B, and C models will helpful to understand the hexagonal framework of this molecule. This diagram is not sufficient. That's why I included black and white diagram that is available in previous slide, because in that diagram the direction of magnetic moments with respect to temperature are clearly mentioned. That's why I included that diagram. So this diagram is just to look the arrangement of atoms, and the previous diagram is to understand the directions of magnetic moments with respect to temperature. So here what I told you at second last um, slide, that above minus 10 degrees Celsius the spin moment lies in the C plane but are slightly canted. Canted diagram is present on next slide. Canted mean something in same direction but in an angular position. So this produces a weak spontaneous magnetization with C plane, and we discussed at the start of this lecture that anti-ferromagnetic materials have similar hallmarks like ferromagnetic materials. They have spontaneous magnetization, they have remanence, and the other properties. And, with the one difference that we talked about was the arrangement of magnetic moments. Below minus 10 degrees Celsius, the direction of antiferromagnetism changes and becomes parallel to the C-axis. There is no spin canting and hematite becomes a perfect antiferromagnet. The spin flop rotation is called Morin transition. And the spin flop transition means the transition that is dependent on temperature. Sometimes these magnetic moments are parallel to C plane but are canted, and the other one is they become parallel. So it means in hematite there are two uh, positions for the magnetic moments. One of them is perfect uh, when they become parallel, and the other one is when they are in C plane but canted. Hematite crystallizes in corundum structure with oxygen ions in hexagonal packed framework. The magnetic moment of iron plus 3 ions are ferromagnetically coupled with specific C planes but anti-ferromagnetically coupled between the planes. So it means their magnetic moments have two modes of their coupling. One of them is ferromagnetically and the other one is anti-ferromagnetic. This is canted antiferromagnetism representation. As I told you, that canting is something like direction is similar, but they are in an angular form, or you can say that you are climbing on a hill station, and your movement you are going in uh, forward direction, but half of your way will be going upward and the rest half is it means you are climbing up a hill and then you are coming down from the other side. This movement is known as canted movement, and in ferromagnetism this is known as anti-ferromagnetism. Morin transition, also known as spin flop transition, the anti-ferromagnetic ordering is recognized from being aligned parallel to C-axis to be aligned parallel to C-axis below Morin temperature. Morin temperature is 260 Kelvin for iron plus 3 ions in alpha Fe2O3. A change in magnetic properties takes place at more in transition temperature. This is effect of temperature on the properties of magnetite. At x-axis we can see temperature ranging from minus 200 degrees Celsius to above 600 degrees Celsius, and on y-axis there is their uh, mm, sigma s, that is ranging from 0 to, I think so, this one is minus 30 ampere square per kg. So we can see initially when we increase temperature, their mm, value of sigma is going on increasing, and at a certain point, this value with further increment of temperature is going down. So this one is the change in magnetic susceptibility. As I told you previously that up to certain temperature, these materials behave like paramagnetic, and these materials show an increment in their magnetization, but after certain temperature they start behaving like paramagnetic materials, means their magnetization decreases with temperature. The unit that is presented at y-axis and represented by sigma as, this is known as saturation magnetization at room temperature. Antiferromagnetism is rare of the two bulk behaviors. It is found for chromium and in iron manganese alloys. In a special case of antiferromagnetism, the number of opposing spin dots do not balancing, resulting in a net magnetization in one direction. The most common ferrimagnetic materials are Fe3O4, the mixed oxidation state of iron 2 and iron 3. The oxide is important as the magnetic component of ferrofluids and magnetic liquids. This is something description about ferromagnetic materials. These liquids are attracted to magnetic fields. Actually, the colloidal solid iron oxide particles within the bulk liquid are attracted to a magnetic field. A ferrofluid can be simply prepared by reaction of iron 3 and iron 2 chloride with aqueous ammonia in the presence of a surfactant. The surfactant prevents the oxides from coagulation and settling out. So we can see aqueous FeCl3, that is ferric chloride, FeCl2, that is ferrous chloride, and 8 molecules of ammonia. In usually ammonia is available in aqueous form, and we can see that Fe3O4 is in solid form, and ammonium chloride is available in the product reaction mixture as an aqueous phase. Now I have two questions to pose you. One of them is, what do you know about Morin transition? How can you relate it with any molecule, and also mention Morin temperature of some common antiferromagnetic materials? And the other is, what is canted antiferromagnetism, and whether it is dependent on temperature or it is dependent on applied magnetic field, and also mentioned canted antiferromagnetic behavior of two or three famous or well-known molecules. I would like to say thank you so much. Allah Hafiz. We'll see you in the next lecture. Hope so. Our study about the states of matter is closed now. And in the next lecture, I think so, we are talking about some applications of these properties. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.